The stat from NAR is that like 75% of agents fail after their first year. And then it's like another 30% or 40% are out after 5 years.
Welcome back to the Modern Agent Podcast. My name is Logan Ricchetti with Modern Realty. This podcast is a combination of thoughts and opinions on the real estate market in Midland, Michigan with our local real estate agents from Modern Realty. Our mission is to create informed and confident buyer and seller clients, so tune in to learn more about Midland's real estate market.
Hi, welcome to another episode of the Modern Agent Podcast. I am TJ Peters.
I am Jeremy Stedry.
And we're just going to rap a little bit about where our careers are at, where they've been, and where we're going. So, Jeremy, how long have you been doing real estate?
This would be my 7th year in real estate, all with Modern.
7 years in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
All full-time years?
No, part-time. Every single time.
All part-time.
I actually came in, Logan, our esteemed broker. Actually, I shot my mouth off to him, believe it or not.
I've done that.
I can actually thank my wife for us finding him because I bought my house with him so many years ago. And I actually shot my mouth off saying, I'd love to try and what you do what you do. And that was back in the basement Bayless years. I don't know if were you there?
I was not. No.
So we had, I would say it was I was probably number 12 or 13.
Okay.
And all of a sudden I got thrusted right into boot camp.
Okay. I haven't been through a boot camp either.
One of the first boot camps. I think I have one of the first manuals that he has.
Nice.
Went through the boot camp, and we had some of the names that you probably know, Boxy and Aaron and Holly, with Kevin and Logan trying to tell us all young bucks what in the heck we're supposed to do.
The OGs.
Yeah. And I came in, basically went in and started full bore. So awesome. I've been part-time since then, but I actually teach too. So I am a teacher up in Hemlock. So
right on.
It's been pretty good.
I say part-time. So
I actually think I've been in it longer than you. You
absolutely have. Absolutely. I started in 19. So you've definitely been in at least a year or two longer than me.
Oh man.
So, yeah. So part-time, I started part-time, so I can kind of commiserate a little bit with sometimes some of the challenges and pitfalls. But what do you think the biggest challenge for you while you're part-time is?
Making sure I'm communicating. It's one of those things where during school hours, I am not doing anything real estate. Be a big no-no.
Yeah, they might frown upon that.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. So making sure that I'm on top of my P's and Q's, making sure I'm doing everything prior to I get started for my teaching day to ensure that everything's good and golden and moving on to whatever I got to do after that. So as soon as I dismiss my kids, I'll go through my routine and see what needs to be done and move on from there. So yeah, part-time's not too bad. It's a nice little gig for being able to talk with the adults as opposed to just the kids.
I think I pulled a stat on the way over here. Part-time agents, according to NAR, sell somewhere between 2 and 5 deals annually. Is that, you think you're in that mark? You higher? You lower? I mean, I know the answer, but
you do?
I know you're higher than that.
Okay, yes, I am higher than that.
Yeah,
I don't know how much higher it is from the 5 or so on and so forth, but I do find myself to be fairly busy. And it comes in ebbs and flows, and I'm sure it ebbs and flows with you being a full-time guy too. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are points in time where you're like just slammed, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, where is everything? Yeah. What is going on? Yeah. And you're trying to feel that market. If it almost feels like now we're kind of back into that 17, 18 when I was starting to learn things, and we're more of a traditional type market where it's a little bit more of we got to go and find that right place. We got to go in and make sure we have that target price if you're dealing with a seller, and you want to go and make sure everything's fine-tuned for whoever you're trying to sell it to.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think it's a little bit more balanced currently than
one of those where you want to have that traditional offer. I don't know what you're seeing in Bay City because you're more in Bay County.
Yep, I am. You're more over in that like Freeland Hemlock
more
area?
in the Freeland Hemlock area. That's where I grew up.
Yeah, we're kind of outsiders to this whole modern gig, right?
Yeah, I actually grew up in like what is called the Bermuda Triangle. I almost feel like, or a self-proclaimed Bermuda Triangle. Your Freeland address, Hemlock School, Thomas Township.
Okay,
which is Swan Valley. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, well,
but that's where I grew up. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So part-time, I feel like I know for myself sometimes it's hard to keep a rhythm, and it was definitely hard to keep a rhythm when I was part-time. I think I was an agent for about 5 months before I came to Modern initially, and it was really coming to Modern back in 2020, right at the start of COVID, that hammered in those systems that kind of tuned it in for me. It allowed me to be productive while I was part-time. Is there anything specifically that you accredit to the systems that help you be so successful as a part-time agent at Modern?
A lot of the systems, I can thank a lot of it to our team that's there 24/7. It almost feels like.
Yeah, it does. Shout out to Aaron and Amber.
Aaron, Amber, Aubrey,
and
Bailey. You call one of those four
Kathy
girls.
If you need to answer. Catherine, I'm sorry. Catherine. If you need to answer the phone.
You shout out Catherine.
Shout out Catherine.
If you call one of those 5 gals, it's going to get done. Or if I picked up in passing a listing package or a appointment that I'm looking for, I already know it's going to be done and taken care of.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I can really attribute with being a part-time guy with this brokerage is I've been here and I can go and chat with those people and I know things are going to go nice and smoothly if I need to.
Definitely.
So a lot of those systems that we have put in place, you just follow those protocols, call those people that you need to, and you don't have to worry about much of anything else.
Sure.
Just make sure you're going and fine-tuning the stuff that you need to. So you probably see it a little bit differently from a full-time standpoint.
No, I don't, honestly. I believe genuinely that the systems make it that much easier to be productive. I couldn't imagine doing what I do now, and I say I couldn't imagine. I guess I can because I did it, right?
Yeah.
And realized how much I was missing. The systems are just they're so fluid and flawless, and there are so many fail safes to keep you in check,
right, and
make sure that you're doing the job the right way, and so you can focus your talent on what's important, right? The client relationships and making sure they're finding what they need. Some of the day-to-day stuff, the paperwork, building the packages out,
right,
or running the signs, or the things that we take for granted because we don't have to deal with them, take up so much time that would otherwise take away from the client experience. And
right.
That's such a key component that I see.
The other thing that I find and am fond of with us is the understanding of knowledge, the new knowledge that I can actually get in. I'm not very well with, inside of the huddles that we have every week. But I sure as heck can call you. I'd call Tim. I'd call any of the girls that we mentioned and say, hey, this update, is there something that I missed that I absolutely need to have moving forward, or something that I got to adjust in my repertoire, like the change in August, that's a pretty big one that we all had. Hey, what are the forms that I need? Hey, how do I articulate this? And while you have to perfect your own craft, you have a basis that you can actually go to and make sure that craft is taken care of.
I completely agree. So as you may or may not know, my intent coming back to Modern is to open Bay City. And part of me, going to that direction of broker manager was, how do I not let the agents underneath me, fail? I want to make sure that I have the best opportunity for them to be successful. And I really took a good hard look at how much talent I have, how much experience, how much knowledge I have. And it occurred to me that if I'm stuck at the broker level, they're all stuck beneath me.
Right.
So it was so important for me to come back to Modern for that move forward, and lean on the talent and the knowledge in that room every day. I mean, we have 50 agents, and everybody comes from different walks of life, and everybody's seen different deals, and there's so much volume that runs through the brokers that there are very few scenarios that somebody in the office hasn't encountered.
There's always somebody that has learned something that you are going through. Whether it is in the middle of a flood, the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm talking 17.
Yeah.
So one of my first few deals actually happened to be with our esteemed owner of our company.
Yeah.
On the other side. And I am on my way up to my honeymoon.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Yeah. Okay.
Open house.
Yeah.
Closed the deal. Got the deal done. Went through everything. And Logan's like, "Are you really going on your honeymoon?" I'm like, "Yes." So let's talk and let's finish this and make sure that my wife is happy.
Sure.
Well, everything flooded in 17. I don't know if you remember this in May.
I remember. I wasn't in real estate, but I remember. Yeah.
So I've gone through that.
Yep.
We went through the dam flooding, and we went through a lot of little other things, and it just felt like your sphere grew. So when you're going through and building that brokerage, you want to make sure that everything, those systems are taken care of. So what avenues do you feel that is best to get started in that? Do you know?
Do I? I mean, the systems, the key component, like I said, coming back, were the systems that we have in place at Modern to address, to be able to plug in. That training is top notch. Even when I wasn't here, I was still leaning on the training that I had here, or trying to replicate it in some capacity, because there aren't very many weaknesses in it, if any at all. None that I can identify. And I was just tasked with going through the SOPs, right? It's just so important that your fundamentals are proficient, like NASA level proficiency, right? We talk about that, NASA and Disney. But that's probably the most important, is understanding it at a fundamental level, right? And then knowing that you have someone there to help you through it if you don't understand it. So probably the key takeaway there. For newer agents, get the training. For existing agents, right? Somebody, maybe if you're at a different brokerage and you're struggling with support, like having a system that you can always lean on, that's always going to check the boxes that you need, and add so much value, is so important.
Oh yeah. The one thing that, even though I am part-time, I'm not the only part-time guy that we have. There are a number of them. The one thing to make sure of is that have those systems in place and ready to roll. Because those systems are going to be great for us to be able to, or for you to be able to apply for building that sphere around not just Bay County, because we're west of here, but going into outside of Bay County, further up to where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've sold, as far north as West Branch. I've got deals out in Caro and Unionville and Caseville, like all over the state of Michigan. So having the talent pool and the people who've done the deals to lean on for the different township ordinances that you may not know about, or like, how do I do the tax proration? It's easy to write on a form taxes per local custom. It takes you to another level of just professionalism if you can sit down and understand and go through the ordinances and be like, hey, this is exactly how the taxes are done. This is exactly what it spells out. It doesn't seem like a lot, but from a proficiency level, man, it really comes across as this dude's polished. This gal knows what she's doing.
Or they know this person, or they've talked to this person because of the connections. There are a number of agents where, like, hey, in our own group, hey, does anybody know this person or this person that might be able to get in contact with me? Let's talk. I know this person from this issue. And that's the one thing that I always am fond of too, is whenever you can have that phone call, regardless of where that agency or that agent holds their license, you're able to have a good, solid conversation from just those past relationships. And I agree with you on the ordinances and the things of that sort, because you go down to where I'm from, and the big thing that happened over the course of the last few years was the sewer was being taken over.
Okay.
So they're basically building new culverts for our town, so on and so forth. So the big piece was a special assessment.
Yep.
And the way that forms are written between Midland County and Saginaw County, Hemlock is one of those it's in Saginaw County, but you have me from there. It's 20 minutes away from Midland.
Yeah.
That you see a lot of different forms going all over the place, and you're kind of leaning on what you're saying. you got to make sure you're having everything nice and red for that client that you're dealing with.
Agents out there, can we just consolidate to one set of
One
forms?
thing,
Standardize
guys.
them
That's
across
all.
the boards, please.
Period.
Make everybody's life easy.
How many different contracts have you seen? Do you know?
I mean, just in the last 2 years, I know that I've seen probably 11 or 12 different purchase agreements. So like whether it's the standardized for Bay County, the standardized for Genesee, the standardized for Saginaw, Midland, Berkshire has in some offices a standardized form specifically for their office. Remax has their own. Like there are so many different purchase agreements, and there are so many different pitfalls if you're not proficient and paying attention and looking and things that can be missed, like gas or propane prorations or, special assessments, right? We just talked about that. So many different things, and the way that they're written and the language is super confusing and convoluted. So that training on proficiency.
Yeah. Like almost you almost have, you're witnessing everything that somebody in that MLS has come through and experienced before. To where this has got to go and be addressed.
100%.
Or like, oh, okay, this must have happened here
it's like
at some point.
Somebody burned their mouth on coffee, so there's a warning that says coffee is hot, right?
Yeah, correct.
100%.
Yeah,
So,
you and me both. Like you go through and you're reading everything line by line. I'm like, does this mean this? Does this? Where's Tim? Where's Logan?
Yeah.
What is this? What does this mean to you?
Yep.
And making sure that that's taken care of.
Absolutely. Let's circle back for just a second. So we've talked a lot about you being part-time and being in education.
Yeah.
How does that translate to you as an agent? So teacher Jeremy versus agent Jeremy. I feel like there's got to be a lot of just fluidity and cohesiveness between it.
I teach math, so numbers are good to me.
Okay.
So
all right.
There's one thing.
Yeah, math.
The communication, the transfer from a little adolescent. I teach 6th through 8th.
Sure.
So talking to a young preteen to an adult might be a little different. I can talk a little bit more bluntly to the adult as opposed to the kid. But I feel like the math always came back to me, and it was always pretty well articulated.
Okay.
To where I feel like the biggest piece was being able to communicate, and that's the one skill that I wanted to make sure I shored up.
Perfect.
And made sure I had understanding on keeping those clients of mine informed and confident as to what they're going to do. I'm also teach math, and I also teach a personal finance piece. So there you go.
Perfect.
Right?
We need more financial literacy.
It's so nice. And honestly, I've learned so much just based off of learning how to teach it.
Yeah.
We actually have different units on mortgages. I'm like, oh man, I could actually go through some of this. I don't know a lot of the stuff, so I got to go resort to my lender buddies, but teaching those kids how to buy houses and so on and so forth. But there kind of was that transfer of, I like using my numbers, but how can I do this to better inform my clients in that aspect? And the interest was just there, just based off of getting the NASA and Disney as a home buyer.
Yeah.
I can thank my wife for meeting Logan, because she used him in the past, and me shooting my mouth off, like I said, well, try and do what you do. And 2 weeks later, I'm at boot camp and I'm learning all this and learning this and learning this. And it's just one of those, you just kind of get blinders, and it's 7 years already, and you've been doing this, and this is all you really know.
Sure.
So when it comes to that, I just love to do what I do.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'd probably do the
I
same.
do. Another fun stat, right?
Because, you were here since 19, you said.
So I started at 19 with a brokerage downstate.
And then you came back.
Came to Modern, and then moved and came back.
Okay. So what caused you to upchange everything and move into real estate?
Yeah, so that was kind of a fluke, honestly.
There you go.
I had a friend at the time who was starting up a nonprofit. They wanted me to effectively do like community outreach for the nonprofit. My background was I was a union steward, and I was a next gen coordinator for like Michigan and Wisconsin. So I trained a lot of young talent in the unions. Had a lot of good community relationships, so they wanted me to take on that role. As part of that, they're like, "Hey, but it's not up and running yet, so why don't you get a real estate license and jump on my team?" I did that for about 5 months.
And you're like, oh, this is really
We
cool.
went separate way. I mean, yeah. I mean, it was it's way more challenging,
Right.
way more challenging than what I was. I was a CNA, so full time working as a CNA. So loved what I was doing there, caring for people, taking care of people. It's always been near and dear, servant heart, right? It's always been near and dear to me. The pay wasn't great.
Right.
This translated to being able to help people, help them find their dream homes and really advance their lives with a much larger stipend. But it's way harder. I'm from a prospecting your business and moving forward and consistently staying on top of it because there's no rigid schedule and staying on it. But then I was like a year into it, COVID took place. Being a CNA during COVID was not exactly the most fun experience.
No.
I can't imagine anybody on the outside would understand that.
I
But
can empathize.
yeah, but I just saw the ability to help more people on a broader sense, and financially prepare and do these things for my family a little bit better.
Okay.
And that's kind of what pushed me all in.
Yeah.
It was June of 2020 where I went from part-time to full-time. Never looked back.
So my question for you is now, or say even when you're a baby agent, what would you say your biggest clientele would be from? Is it Sphere? Is it from outside?
I mean, I think for the most part, most people's come from Sphere if you had one established. Right. So mine is Sphere. I know a lot of people. I went to 4 different high schools. So I know a lot of people in Bay County.
It's making sure that everybody knows that even though you're not a CNA or a teacher, you also can sell.
Yeah, listen, I've got some great programs personally with this partner lender that I've got for health aids and stuff like that. So it's cool to have that to leverage and market.
Like there are plenty of teachers that I know and I've worked with that also know, hey, question for you. We're looking at this. We want to look at this place. Yeah. And that's where everything starts.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's that Sphere and it's everywhere that you're with. And that's where my clientele's built is basically from that Sphere.
Yeah.
Every now and then I'll get referrals because of where I'm at. 7 years in, you've done so many of them.
Yeah.
But at the beginning with that part-time gig,
it's not easy.
It's not easy when you're not really there a lot. So you got to build that Sphere, build it.
Yep.
Family, friends, groups that you're involved in, whatever it is, and let them know you do business. You sell houses. There
Absolutely.
You
go. Absolutely. The stat from NAR is that like 75% of agents fail after their first year. And then it's like another 30% or 40% are out after 5 years. So, I mean, just the fact that you made it through the first year and then made it through 5 years as a part-time agent who's selling more than the average part-time agent says that you're more of an anomaly, Jeremy. So props to you, man.
Oh, thanks.
That's awesome.
We survived that. We survived a COVID lockdown and we survived a flood, man.
Now I got bridges to deal with in Bay County.
Now you got bridges.
We got the bridges.
Yeah.
So.
That's another podcast in itself.
It's, I agree. It is. That's contract law like you wouldn't believe, man. I'm glad I'm not an attorney on that one because I would be having nightmares over those ones.
Is that the biggest issue you're going to see in Bay County?
Yeah, I think Bay County right now that's going to be the issue is your bridges. You've got a lot of really tense moments, a lot of people who are really concerned about what the future looks like in terms of affordability where, our average income is a little bit lower than surrounding areas, right? It's not like Midland. So those $30 a month fees just to get to the other side of the bridge to go to work hit a little bit differently.
Right.
And a lot of people are concerned about that, rightfully so. And then the changing of pricing midway like that, it makes people uneasy and terrified for the future, right? So we get to navigate that with home buyers coming into the city. Flip side is it's ample opportunity for people who want to get out of town to sell their house.
Right.
So that is kind of the hot button issue that we have in Bay County right now. It's kind of like the lakes in Sanford the last few years, and it sounds like the sewers in your area.
Well, not anymore. Now that's special assessment's been pretty well taken care of, and it's in their winter taxes. And now, actually, it's been more of an upswing, kind of where we're at down south, south of Midland. That is those HSC jobs are so big now. So they're building that brand new building over on South Orr, and it's going to be bringing business like no other.
Yeah.
my school district that I actually teach in had just passed a big old bond that's got a new gym and STEM center that's trying to driving people there. Awesome. So it's one of those where it's an uplifting mystery, if you want to call it that way. Things haven't really boomed, but everything's looking positive. And I'm not just talking Hemlock. I'm talking everywhere outside of there too. And because those jobs, they fluctuate. I mean, you've got Dow up here, and HSC down there, along with the corridor of Hemlock and Midland being Freeland.
SK Siltron in Bay County for microchips.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of manufacturing still goes on in this area that you don't really hear about.
So you deal with bridges, so to speak, in Bay Cities. Bridges and house age. Where I've typically sold, it's more of what is the condition of the house and how much land do you got.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking for land. That's common.
It's completely different aspects, but I'm sure we both have been dealing with that at one point.
Absolutely.
How would you go about comping something like that over at a property that you're not usually used to?
Same reason I didn't go out on my own and just all in. Like, I'm going to lean on the knowledge in the room and the people who've done it. I'm going to pick the brains of the people who've been there. I'm going to look for, Tim, who is like a comp guru, right? If I'm in your area, I'm going to call you. People call me because I'm in Bay County. They don't do a lot of deals. It's one of the beautiful things that we have in the office is that if you've got a question and it's from an area that you're not in and you call them, they're picking up the phone. I don't know that there's anybody in our office that I couldn't call. I would test it, but I don't want to put anybody on the spot in the middle of this podcast. You see those like, oh, I know Nelly. Let me call him. No, I don't, honestly, I think
you know Nelly.
I know a Nelly. She's she's a really nice lady. I used to take care of her.
There we go.
But I do know a Nelly.
Not the Nelly.
Not the Nelly.
Got it.
Yeah. But no, it's just great. We have the opportunities to really bounce back and forth, and nobody's ever going to leave you hanging. If they can't get to the call right then, they're going to email you back. They're going to shoot you a text. You're going to get the answer for your client. So,
okay.
Yeah. What about you?
Same thing.
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to kind of be all over the place at one point, all the way down to where I sold places down in Novi.
Yep.
Which, hey, family member.
I just sold one in Grand Rapids. I get
Did
it.
You? Yeah. And then all the way up north to Au Gres and Gaylord, like you were talking about.
Sure.
But the hard part is you're doing the comp on the buy side too. Because it's like, okay, let's make sure that we're not biting off more than we can chew.
You comp your buy side?
Yeah, I comp.
I don't know that a lot of agents comp. I do. I just wanted to highlight that. That's
you got to
comp
a difference. The buy side.
Not a lot of agents I've come across are comping the buy side.
Well, it's one of those where it's like, okay, guys, this is the way we're going to go about it.
Yeah.
And here's why I want to do this is we're going through all of those checks and balances. When we're writing our offer, we've got our three big things. First off, the inspection's just basically making sure that you're okay with that house, right? Making sure that there's no big red flags.
Yeah.
Making sure the house hasn't fallen in or there's a roof that leak that we don't know about type of situation. But that making sure that, okay, let's see what the appraisal might look at.
Sure.
And we're not appraisers.
No.
We can't hold ourselves to that.
Sure.
But we can certainly give it within a shot to make sure that everything's good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this looks like it's a pretty good price for us to be able to go and look at.
Sure.
And being able to go and target. What are your thoughts on that? And going from there. So yes, I comp a lot of my buys.
And I think we've shifted back to being able to convincingly do so.
Correct.
Like, there was a time where it didn't matter what they comped at because everything was selling 30 over list anyway.
Yeah.
So what you comped it at didn't matter. But it's really nice to be at a place where buyers can kind of take a minute to breathe.
Yeah.
You don't have to like first hour have the inspection scheduled and walk in the door and buy right now.
Right.
It's kind of builds confidence in the buyer, a little bit less stress through the transaction.
And I've noticed that a lot with some of our newer agents too, who are not used to that 2020. They're used to the 20. I misspoke. They're used to the 2020, 2021. Go. They're not used to that 17, 18, 19 that you and I are used to. That, hey, it's kind of gone down.
We're going to walk through it.
We're going to walk through it. And I feel, it's one of those that you got to go through each one of those markets to be able to understand how to adjust. And it's one of those, and I feel like that's probably the 5-year thing.
Yeah.
You're seeing markets in 5 years change on its own to where the burnout and the understanding is not there just yet, to where here with us, you're getting that understanding. You're getting that knowledge base because you've got experienced people trying to work with you as opposed to good luck, son.
Yeah, we just kind of went through a historical anomaly, you know. Some agents started in the middle of it, and we're going to come back down to earth. So that was I think that was another great episode. I think we had a great conversation, a lot of good information passed out there. So thanks for joining us. You guys have a great rest of your day.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Modern Agent Podcast. Please follow at Modern Realty Midland on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And if you need to buy or sell a house, please reach out to Modern Realty by going to www.modernrealty.us. Modern Realty, your home, our focus.